Hey everyone, in this tutorial we are going to look at SQL Server and how to create database for SQL Server using C#. Most of the syntax will probably look familiar since we already did SQLite tutorial, but there will be some differences too. So, because SQL Server is a full-blown database management system, so let's go ahead and start with our project. This is going to be a console application. You can apply the same logic to WinForms and WPF, but maybe as we go along, I'll convert to WPF. But having said that, I'm gonna select console app, .NET Framework, and click Next. I'm just gonna add the word SQL to the beginning of this application and change the solution name to SQL tutorial. Okay, create. Okay, our project was prepared for us. Right off the bat, I'm going to need two namespaces. Okay, one of them is going to be system data. Another one is going to be system data SQL client. Okay, so now that we have our namespaces in place, we are going to continue with creating our first method to create the database. Okay, so static void. I'm going to call this createDB. Okay, first I'm going to declare a few variables. Start with string. This is going to represent connection string, so let's call this connection string, and we'll set this to, okay, we need a data source, and it's going to be localhost, semicolon, integrated security, SSPI, all caps, semicolon, initial catalog, and it's going to blank for now. Okay. Next, I'm gonna need a SQL statement, same string also. Let's say cmd text. Okay, this is going to be lowercase, uppercase, doesn't matter. So create database, that's the command. This is similar to SQLite. If you have seen my SQLite tutorial, the syntax is similar or almost identical. And the name of the database, so I'm going to call this my test DB. Okay, and then let's create an instance of the SQL command. So SQL command, actually not SQL connection. SQL connection equals new SQL connection, and we'll pass in our connection string, which is our connection. We'll call its connection string up here. Okay. Alright, next I'm going to check whether the connection is open or not. So if SQL connection dot state is not open, connection state dot open. Okay, if it's not open, then we want to open it. SQL connection dot open. Okay. Alright, so once we open, we need the command, SQL command. So let's create an instance, SQL command, SQL command. Let's use the suggested names to make life easier. New SQL command, and we'll pass in, I think we have an overload version that takes the command text, second one, so we'll pass in the CMD text right here. Okay. Next we need to run the command, so SQL command dot execute non-query. Okay, let's add some console.write lines to check while things happening. So after this open, we want to type in, we want to show that the connection is open. Okay. And then right after this execution, we want to display database created. Okay. And then we need to close the database. So SQL connection dot close. And just like any other external files or databases, we want to really enclose this stuff inside a try-catch block. So I'm going to split some of this stuff and place inside try-catch block. Okay, and for the exception, I want to display the exception if it happens. So I want to display on the screen. E.message. If you run into exception, it's going to display. And then finally, we want to place this inside the finally block, and we want to close the connection no matter what. Okay, and that's it. So if we haven't made any typos, once we run this, we should create a database. Okay, so I'm going to call this method createDB, and then I want to run a console.write line, a read line. So that the window doesn't close. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, let's build this and run it. See what happens. So build a solution. No errors. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. Connection property has not been initialized. Okay, I made a mistake. Okay. For the SQL command, we have to pass in the connection object as well, I believe. Comma, SQL connection, yep. I think that's why we got the exception. So that's why we put inside the try catch block anyway. When we run to exception, we want to catch it. Okay, let's run this one more time. Alright, the connection is open. Database created. And that's it. We didn't print out for connection closed. I should have added another line here as to the connection is closed, but it's too late. But if you are following up, following the example, you can go ahead and do that. Okay. All right, so let's check if our database actually created. So the name of our database again is mytestdb. So this is going to create a database in default location, and that's located in program files. If you're running anything other than Windows 10, it may be inside the program files. With Windows 10 we have two of them. One is x86, the other one is program files. So I'm going to go into this one here. And then we are looking for Microsoft SQL Server folder. And from here we are going to go into MS SQL 15. Yada yada yada. So this number may change depending on version, but this is the folder we are going in. And once again, MS SQL. Alright, from here we are going to go in data folder where our databases are listed. Okay, so this is our database we just created, LDF and MDF files. Okay, two files that make up our database. Alright, so that's one way of creating our database. Now let's do another example with a little more customized version of this. Okay, so this is going to be another string variable. I'm going to call this cmd text2 and start typing. So once again, create database. I'm going to call this database my shop. And on primary, open parens, name, it's going to be, let's call this my shop underscore dot, comma. This name shows up in SQL Server. It's not the actual file name. The actual file name actually is the file name that we are going to specify now. This is going to be between single quotes. I'm going to copy a folder name. So I'm going to go to my desktop data folder. I'm going to use this folder to store the database. So I'm copying the folder and paste in between my single quotes. Then add extra escape character to get rid of the error with this backslashes. And then name of the file, which is going to be my shop MDF. Okay, this is going to be the data file. Next, I'm going to specify the size of the file. Again, this is a little more customized, gives you more control. Let's say I want this to be 10 megabyte in size. Max size, I want this to be, let's say, 20. You can define the megabytes or kilobytes here. If you don't define, by default, I think it's megabytes. File growth can be in percentages or megabytes. So if I say 10%, that's going to be percentage. If I don't specify the percentage, it's going to be megabytes. Okay, so that's the data files. Let's close the parens. And next, I'm going to do the same thing for the log files. So the keyword I'm going to use, log on, open parens again. Let me break this string from here so we can see what's going on. All right, same thing, name. I'm gonna call this my shop underscore log, comma, file name. I'm gonna copy and paste from here and just change the file name. So from MDF to LDF, comma, then size, I can say 5, max size 10, and file growth 1. And close the parens and close the statement. Okay, our statement is ready. Now I can, instead of using the first statement, I'm going to use the second statement, and that's going to create my shop database over here in this folder with specified sizes. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. Oops, I think I made a mistake over here without realizing. Extra backslash, that was unnecessary. Let's run this again. Alright, connection is open, database created, and connection is closed. Perfect. Let's check our folder, and there you have it, our MDF and LDF files. So now let's check the file sizes. Okay, this one is 10 megs, and this one should be 5 megs. And there you have it. Okay, so those are the couple of ways that you can create the database using C#. Okay, of course, these are not the only 2 ways, but that's it for now. Until the next one, take it easy.